We ready, Mr. McAllister? Great. So this is our 8th week of school, and I'll talk a little bit about making certain that we stay in school as long as possible in just a moment, but I wanted to show you some photos from an event this weekend that the Art Club went on. This is an exhibit at Cheekwood, and a group, as you see, of about 7 or 8 or more art students and some of our art teachers went to see the Chihuly exhibit this weekend. He's a very talented glassmaker, and his stuff is shown all over the world. And so a lot of people have been going out to Cheekwood in the evenings because of the color and the light make it much more interesting at that time. I thought I'd remind everyone about events coming up. Next Wednesday is the PSAT for the 8th through the 11th grades, and as a reminder to the 11th grades, it counts toward national merit recognition, so this is the most important time you've taken this test. For the other grades, it's just good practice to take a standardized test because you'll have to take several in the next years, from the SAT to the ACT to SAT 2 test. So take it seriously. As I've mentioned before, look at your tests from last year. Just do some refreshing over the next 10 days so that you can be well prepared for the PSAT. A number of you will be taking the ACT tomorrow. It's being offered on campus, and I believe the SAT is going to be offered the same morning as the PSAT. So the story about COVID-19 obviously reached new heights this weekend with the President being hospitalized and making all of us aware just of the vulnerability we have to this pandemic. We have seen a spike in cases, but not anything out of the ordinary in terms of the number of students we have here. So still about a 98% rate of people that do not have it and have not tested positive for it. So in that respect, we feel really good about how things are going, but we can't relax. And so as we reminded your families last week about 6 times, we wanted to make sure that there were no gatherings this weekend. We were sorry to have to cancel the homecoming, but I think it was the right decision given the worries at this point about spread, and we just hope we continue to be vigilant along those lines. Over the last weeks, our diversity committee has met, and it's really encouraging to see that committee talk about important issues for the school. You'll see a couple of announcements along these lines in just a few minutes. On the same score, I've been pleased with some young alumni who've come in and want to work in a really positive way to make sure MBA is kind of a gold standard of saying that the gentleman aspect of the school will reveal that we want to respect and care for everyone. And I've been pleased, as I said, with that involvement, and I think you'll be pleased with the announcements this morning. Recently, we recognized and honored a number of our faculty. The school has 10 teaching chairs, meaning that we can recognize a teacher for his or her excellence and give them the honor of this chair for a period of time, 3 to 6 years. There's a new Ralph Ellison chair that Miss Hackney has. There's the Jackson Fine Arts chair that Miss Hollyfield has. There's the Lowry chair that Dr. Kinch has. There's the Wills chair that Mr. Story has. The Novak chair that Mr. Clark has, the Frisch chair that Mr. Barclay has, the Hackney chair that Miss Ellery has, the Tommy Owen chair that Mr. Tillman has, the Smith chair that Mr. Klausner has, and the Shanks chair that Dr. Hedmark has. Please join me in recognizing these 10 faculty. We've been working on our broadcasting of football games in particular of late, we had a meeting last week, and we've improved the broadcasting to include the score at the bottom of the broadcast all the time. And if there are any students interested in helping Mr. McAllister, please meet with him or Mr. Johnson or Mr. Artisan. We'd like to enlarge the interest by having some student involvement in this realm. Alex is going to come up now and talk about the More Than Pink event that we're going to have this weekend. So Alex, if you please come up.
All right, good morning, guys. Please raise your hand if you know someone who has been affected by breast cancer. All right, I see a good number of hands. Well, the reason I ask is that it's finally October, and while for a lot of us that entails the beginning of fall and Halloween, it also means that it's Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Breast cancer is the most common breast cancer among women, the most common cancer among women across the world. It is also the second most fatal cancer among women in the U.S. Even though men are largely unaffected by breast cancer, we can still support women in their fight against it. Given today's current events, breast cancer is probably one of the last things on people's minds. However, even during these difficult times, we must continue to aid women in their fight against this cancer. It's important that we come together as a community and show our support for these women in a collected effort. So we are holding our own Breast Cancer Awareness Walk on Saturday, October 10th from 9 to 12. Post about the event on social media using hashtag #MoreThanPink to help spread awareness about the Breast Cancer Awareness Walk. Seeing a bunch of guys still promoting breast cancer awareness, even during these difficult times, will definitely put a smile on these women's faces. And here's Peyton to talk about the specifics of the event.
Hey guys, what's going on? So the typical Race for the Cure, More Than Pink, walk, run was canceled this year because of the coronavirus. And so we realized that's obviously a big concern with our event, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about the timing and what we're going to do to keep it socially distanced. So this is a free entry event. It's going to be from 9 to 12, but we're splitting it up by grade in order to keep the numbers smaller. So from 9 to 10 is going to be the junior school. From 10 to 11 is going to be the freshmen and sophomores, and then from 11 to 12 is going to be the 11th and 12th grades. It's kind of nice how it worked out like that. But so there's going to be food, music, drinks. Feel free to bring friends and family, but we are going to be doing temperature checks, and please bring masks. We know exercise, you guys are going to want to take off your masks, but you're only walking about 4 to 8 laps, and we ask that you guys stay distance and keep your mask on just to keep everyone safe. But if you think about all the precautions we're taking, we aren't even nearly as necessarily like this disease isn't as fatal for us, but if you think about those with breast cancer, they're at home right now. They've been at home throughout this entirety of this kind of event that's gone on with the coronavirus, and so it'd really mean a lot for them to show your support. And I know we're an all-boys school and that it might not necessarily affect us, but it affects those around us clearly by the amount of you that raise your hand, and it'd mean a lot to them if you went out and showed your support. So if you're going to come to the event, it's free. You can donate. We'll have a QR code with Venmo. You can scan and donate. Please wear pink and spread awareness by using the hashtag #MoreThanPink. Once again, it's going to be free. And that's really about it. But please come out, show your support. And thank you.
Thanks to both of you for spearheading this event. To put it in a personal context, consider somebody like Dr. Creamer's wife, who's really struggling with breast cancer right now. It's the reason he's been remote. She has been on several experimental trials, and it's been a tough go, even though he did write me some great news the other night that there have been some ways in which the experimental trials have stopped the growth of the cancer. So let's hope that continues in that respect. On another personal note, I remember a number of years ago when I was walking during this event with Dr. Boyd, and his mother had passed away not long before that. And he was out there, particularly that year, to think about her, and it was meaningful for me to be with him that day. And I think as you said, we're not as affected personally being an all-boys school, but we all know people have been affected by this. And I think it's a creative way to do this year by making it easy for everybody to come to the campus. The weather's supposed to be great on Saturday morning, so let's hope it's a great event. And again, thanks for your spearheading the event. Would you please come up now, Eman?
Hey everyone, I'm Eman. I'm just going to give you some more details about a club you all should join. The name of this club is Tearing Down the Walls, and the name is from a 2-day diversity conference that takes place each summer at Vanderbilt University. 2 summers ago, the MBA students who attended, including current seniors Maxwell Battle and me, decided to bring the values of this club to MBA. So far, we've been trying to inspire action through conversation. Next slide, please. To remind you just a few of our past events, here they are on this slide. Early this summer, we teamed up with Ensworth to host a Zoom webinar on policing, protest, and making change in the education system. We asked various professionals, including a police officer and a public defender, a list of questions pertaining to these topics. Last year, along with Ensworth again, we helped host a showing and discussion of The Hate U Give, along with many other films. And before spring break, I brought in the senior director of Procter & Gamble, Eric Austin, to talk about how companies and advertising can be a role model for change. He showed those Old Spice ads in the short films called The Look and the Talk, if you remember those. Then we followed up with a panel discussion after school. So we're trying to keep the momentum going this year. We have a religion panel planned for November 7th, and Claude Gadapuke, survivor of the Rwandan genocide, is coming to speak during Assembly October 26th. We also hope to bring in some MBA alumni and Kirk Herbstreit. Next slide, please. At its core, TEW is an inclusive club that promotes constructive conversations about race relations, respect for any and all sexual orientations, and the demand for social justice. We need to build a better community. It's important that we recognize that everyone may not have the same experience as you, even if you think you might know. The current climate of our country has shown us how divided we can be in the tense racial climate. As leaders of the future, we can't just sit back and let history repeat itself. I'm tired of racism, I'm tired of prejudice, I'm tired of stereotyping, I'm tired of xenophobia, and the list goes on. And you should be too. TEW is more than just a club or a cultural movement. Next slide, please. So Mr. Sawyer has sent all the faculty and students a Google form to fill out. You have time right now, so everyone right now can get out your phones and fill out this form. And I'll give you a few seconds to fill this out. And I believe he also sent an email to advisors letting y'all know that I was going to make this announcement so that y'all can give your students time to fill this out. And at the top, you can rank topics you want to discuss, because Tearing Down the Walls, we're going to start having monthly discussions. We're shooting for October 20th for our first one, and November 17th for a second one. I think that is every third Tuesday of each month. And at the bottom, you can click yes to make sure you get all of our updates. Again, this is for everyone, students and faculty. And even if you're in multiple clubs, you still can join. So y'all can fill that out. I'm just going to wrap up speaking. Next slide, please. So the current officers are up here if you have any questions about joining. There's me, Maxwell Battle, Adam Garfinkel, Zach Thomas, Ashton Terrell, Jack Kim, Gus Kirkland, Nate Cantrell, and Noah Higgs. And also, Ashton's going to talk, I think Ashton's going to make an announcement about this. There's going to be a diversity and inclusion survey sent out, which is longer than this. But please fill that out too. It's really important for y'all to fill that out. Thank you for your time.
So I told Ashton I would just, if you please come on up, join him briefly up here and then let him talk about this survey. I think our plan is to have it filled out the next couple of mornings, and tomorrow morning probably be an ideal time in advisory. So my role right now is just to help reinforce the importance of this. And I've already alluded to it earlier in the assembly, but just by saying that we want to sort of set a gold standard for what we're doing here on the campus in terms of caring for one another. But I'll let Ashton now speak.
Thank you, Dr. Joya. Hello, as you know, I'm Ashton Terrell, current senior at MBA. A group of seniors led by myself have decided that it's time for MBA to evolve in the culture with the surrounding world. As a college preparatory school, we know that it's necessary for them to prepare you academically, but we also feel like it's time for them to prepare you in race, religion, and sexuality, and topics based on these. Therefore, we created a Google form for you all to fill out regarding aspects of change we are considering putting in motion for the MBA community. We need you to fill out this form to see the student body's opinion on these matters, because that will make all the difference when we present these to the board members. It doesn't take long, and this will be very beneficial for all of us. The form is titled Equity and Inclusion Survey and has been sent out by Mr. Bassett. Responses are anonymous, so don't be afraid to speak your mind for anything. I'd like to thank you all in advance for filling out this form. It is very important for the movement of MBA, and I know Mr. Joya finds it very important that MBA progresses. And I'd also like to thank Eman, Kendrick, Maxwell, Mark, Thomas, Mrs. Bassett, Mr. Redmond, and Mr. Joya for all their help. Thank you.
I thought I'd preview some assemblies coming up, some of the people we've invited. You've already heard about a speaker on November 2nd. I believe that's the Rwanda individual. Is that the right date? I apologize, October 26th. So that's one speaker I wanted to mention. And then on October 19th, Mr. Chris Bradford is going to speak. Chris is a good friend of mine who is one of the co-leaders of a school that often is described as the most diverse and interesting school in the world. The school is in Johannesburg, South Africa. It's called the African Leadership Academy. They have students from, here's sort of the clarity on being so diverse, they have students from 51 different countries. And Chris Bradford is going to be on a Zoom call with us that morning to talk about what he's learned as somebody from Michigan who met a friend from Ghana at Stanford and then hatched this idea to build a school in South Africa. So we should look forward to that. On November 16th, we're going to have an assembly actually out at the field because some of you know that there's going to be a big mobile of hawks in the new building coming down from a skylight. And that is a way of suggesting to everybody that we have some hawks that live on the campus. I'm sure many of you have seen the hawks around the campus area. So this gentleman has some trained hawks that he works with all the time, and we're going to see him work with these hawks out on the field as the assembly that day, so a little more creative, different type of assembly. John Meacham, one of our parents, is going to come speak about the election, but he wanted to do it after the election, so he's coming on November 23rd. And then lastly, this is not an assembly speech, but this is something that you all could be part of, and we were interested in having a student watch event along these lines. Two gentlemen named Robert George and Cornell West are going to do a Zoom meeting where they're going to talk about race in our country, and they are two of the most well-known spokesmen on TV stations and other news outlets around the country, particularly Cornell West. Robert George teaches at Princeton. Cornell West teaches at both Harvard and Princeton, and this will be on Monday evening, October 26th. We have a fall musical recital this coming Sunday at 5 p.m. here in the theater, and I hope a number of you can attend. We moved it to the theater because we're going to accommodate a larger number of people. Our bowling team had a loss last week. Our 8th grade football team did well in a scrimmage against Ensworth. Our 9th grade football team defeated BGA 13-0. Our JV football team won 35-0 over Northwest Clarksville. Our varsity football team, as you know, lost a close game, 38-35. Came down to the last few seconds where they kicked a field goal around the 40-yard line. It was a tough loss. We probably gave up a few too many points in the first half, but we charged back in the second half and made it a very exciting game. Our region golf team, our golf team finished second in the region tournament, which now allows them to compete in the state tournament scheduled for next Monday and Tuesday. Special congratulations to Max Hastings, who was the individual region champion. And cross country, our microbe team continues to sweep and do extremely well, so we've had some good sports results in the last week. That's it for assembly. I'll just remind you to please fill out the survey that E-Man mentioned, which you should have been able to do. It's a really short survey, just takes a moment. And then I think tomorrow morning would be a good time to schedule the survey that Ashton mentioned, and let's try to get that back this week. Thanks very much. We'll see you soon.